वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। पहले तो गुरु महाराज के साथ संगत तो माफी चाहते हैं क्योंकि हम बेचारे अंग्रेजी में चाहते हैं। As we approach the 30th anniversary to Operation Bluestar, the Sikh genocide, we're all ready to commemorate the 30th anniversary, but even to this day, the whole of the Sikh genocide, especially Operation Bluestar, is completely misunderstood and completely misrepresented. So we're hoping that by talking and exploring some of the things that happened before 1984, the whole saga, the whole episode, and even the genocide that continues to this day will make sense. And you'll know why it's happening. At the heart of the discussion, and what I want request everyone to do is at the heart of the discussion, always remember that no matter what is discussed in the next 50 odd minutes, is to know that Sikhs never fought tooth and nail for India to see it disintegrated or dissolved. And secondly, whenever a social or political reform movement takes place against any kind of oppression, the powers that be always have to dub that movement as a terrorist movement. So keep those two things in mind when we talk about these things. The British landed on the Indian subcontinent and they took over the Sikh kingdom. In order to get the British out of India, India's first education minister, Abdul Kalam, he compiled the statistics of who was most prominent in trying to get the British out of India, who was responsible for freeing India. And in all his statistics, he found that whether they were tied to cannons and blown up, whether they were executed like Bhagat Singh and Kartar Singh Sarabha, or they were exiled, Sikhs made 90% of the sacrifices towards Indian independence. 90% of the sacrifices. And based on those sacrifices, we had categorical promises. And you can find these on the internet and in books, the promises. And the main ones were this, and they date back to 1929. The Congress said that in light of the Sikh contribution towards Indian independence, we will never form a constitution that doesn't meet the needs of the Sikhs. Gandhi said, Mahatma Gandhi, or Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, said Sikhs can even draw their swords from their myan if we form any constitution that doesn't meet their requirements. Nehru even said that we don't see anything wrong with setting up an area in the north, in Punjab, where Sikhs can also have the glow of freedom. So we throw our whole lot with the Congress and the Indians. We throw our whole lot. And we're going to discuss probably the lack of foresight that we've got when we make these kind of decisions. But we cast our whole lot, and what happens after 1947? All of those promises are categorically broken. And I'm going to discuss how they were broken. They were categorically broken. And when Nehru was asked, what about all the promises that you made to the Sikhs before independence? What about all the sacrifices that they made for this country? And he replied with this in 1961. He said, "Kya main taqat dushmanon ke haath mein doon?" Which means, should I give power to the enemy? At what point did we become the enemy of India? But this is what their mentality was. The most important thing to remember about pre-independence, it's not how many lives that we gave to free India. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing about pre-independence before 1947 is the lessons that India learned about the Sikhs in Punjab. What did India learn about Punjab? They learned that we were the last state, we were the last area to fall in the Indian subcontinent and become part of the British Raj. We were the last one. We were too strong. What did they learn about Sikhs? That they're fierce. And when it comes to oppression, they will stand and fight. These are the lessons they learned. And the reason why this is important to know about these lessons is because when India did become independent, although the land was liberated, that liberty never reached the people. The British gave the keys to a few filthy, corrupt Congress politicians like Nehru and Gandhi and said, here's the keys to your country back. Now rule over 1 billion people. Now if you think to yourselves, if you've got a corrupt minority of people who've been given the keys to the country, they're going to want to hold on to that power forever. They're also going to have a look and see who could possibly be a threat to us. Which group, which state, which religion could possibly threaten our hegemony over people's affairs? And this is where they learnt the lessons, Punjab and Sikhs. So they decided to do 2 wars against us. One against Punjab as a state, and one against Sikhi as a religion. And let's just go through some of those. Because for us, we liberated that country, and for us, that was our nation. We felt loyal to that country. In their minds, because they wanted to rule in a corrupt, treacherous manner, they needed to suck any goodness out of that country, and the goodness came from Punjab and Sikhi. So this is how they've done it. They looked at Punjab and thought, it's a massive, massive area. It was the last to fall under the Raj, it's the home of the brave. How do we weaken it? When partition came, why was it our state that was split in half? Why, out of the whole of the Indian subcontinent, did they choose us, our state, to make Pakistan? And what happened in that partition? Mass bloodshed. Who bore the brunt of that bloodshed? The Sikhs. So they divide Punjab by half, give half to Pakistan, and all the irrigatable land went over to Pakistan, and Punjab was split in half. So they truncated us, they weakened us. So we even lose access to beloved Guru Kaj, Lagnan Kana Sahib, where our great King of Kings, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, was born. We don't even have free access to that Gurdwara even to this day. That was the legacy of that partition. But there's something in the soil of Punjab that never gives up. So even in the 50s and the 60s, after the bloodshed of partition, where Sikhs bore the most brunt of it, Punjab was still succeeding. So they think to themselves, how do we weaken Punjab even more? How do we make sure this state never rises? They make us even smaller. In 1966, in the Punjab Reorganisation Act, they carved Haryana and Himachal Pradesh out of Punjab and made us even smaller. They took Chandigarh, which was our capital, the heart of Punjab, and declared it Union Territory. That was such a blow to us that Darshan Singh Feruman, some of you may know his name, Darshan Singh Feruman fasted until death in 1969 to try and get Chandigarh back. So they split us and make us weak in size. How else do they weaken us? They look at Punjab and they think it's the land of plenty, there's lots of water, there's lots of grain. How can we weaken these people even further? Because if they've got natural resources, they always stand a chance of survival. So they look at our water, the land of 5 rivers. We already lost rivers to Pakistan. And then they look at the rest. In 1966, in the riparian injustice, this is the water injustice that we faced. And bearing in mind, as you guys know, your chache, tai, mommy, whatever in Punjab, most of them are farmers. This is what they had to face in 66. Under the age-old international law and practice, it's accepted that if a river lies in a state, it has to stay within that state, under old riparian law. The centre violated this. India, Delhi violated this. They assumed powers of control over our river and diverted them to every other state. So all our river waters, which belong to us, were being passed on to non-riparian states like Rajasthan, because they're a non-riparian state, free of charge, and to this day our water is being robbed by Rajasthan. Incidentally, just another punch in the nose, Rajasthan is an area where it's illegal for a Punjabi to own land. So they're taking our water away from us, but we can't even buy land there. The land of 5 rivers completely running dry. And this is where it started from. How do we make them weak? Then they turn to our language. How can we make Punjab even weaker? So we've cut them down to size. We've got them where we want them. They're completely small, they're completely tiny. We can't see Punjab ever becoming independent. But just to make sure that the scheme is working, they deny our language. So every state is organized based on their language, and Punjab was the only state that was left out, and Punjabi wasn't recognized. And the question is why? Why wasn't Punjabi recognized? Because traditionally, the language people speak is connected to their national identity. They didn't want us to have any national identity. So they took that away from us. And out of sheer disgust that our language isn't being recognized, it's really ironic that Inqilab Zindabad came from Punjab, but that wasn't recognized in free India. In absolute sheer disgust, Sikhs like you guys took to the streets in India and organized peaceful protests. Peaceful protests. By 1965, over 120,000 people like you courted arrest in India just to get your language recognized. And this is the most sinister thing, and we'll go back to this about the lessons that we don't learn. In response to these peaceful protests, because they were shouting slogans like Punjabi Suba Zindabad, that we want Punjabi recognized, the Indian Army went into Harimandar Sahib. I'm not talking about 1984, I'm talking about 1951. 1951. There's a picture on the internet that you can see, the army on the Parikrama doing a flag march. For people like you to shout Punjabi Suba Zindabad, which was your absolute right, the army entered Harimandar Sahib. There was no Sant Jalnain Singh Khalsa Pindrawale in Harimandar Sahib in 1951. There was no Sikh civil rights movement. They attacked the Sangat with batons. They arrested and beat the Jathedar Achar Singh, and threw him in prison. And just to add insult to injury, they'd done a flag march across the Parikrama just to say that we control this place, not you guys. That was just to get our Punjabi language recognized. And people have the nerve to blame Sant Pindrawal in 1984 for that attack. So you've got your language. Punjab has been completely at siege from the centre, cut to size, language denied, water and electricity being robbed. How will they survive? And then they turn to Sikhi, they turn to people like you, they turn to our faith, they turn to Guru Maharaj and think, how do we control these guys? How do we cut Sikhs at the knees now? We've done Punjab, what do we do with Sikhs? The first thing they do with us is not even recognise us. When the Indian Constitution was formed in 1947, Article 25, Part B, said that people like you who are sitting here today are Hindus with long hair. Even our faith wasn't recognised. You don't, to this day, exist as Sikhs in India. When they were forming the government, there's an integrationist approach to government and there's a pluralistic approach. The pluralistic approach says that as you can safeguard minorities, you can safeguard everything they want as long as they're working to the good of the nation. The integrationist approach is that each minority has to assimilate into the majority. Formally, India adopted the plural approach, but informally they adopted the integrationist approach, which is basically we have to assimilate into Hinduism. So you've got Punjab and Sikhi now as targets of the Indian establishment, and they're falling. They're falling big time. But then at the same time, this clever bunch of Congress people who had the keys of India, and they looked at the Sikh faith and they thought, you know what, they're really loyal. And they said to the Sikhs, you know what, if it wasn't for you guys, we'd still be slaves. You are the bravest of the brave, you are the breadbasket of India, you are the one who supplies us with our food. You're also the sword arm of India. And you know what we think? Yes, we are. We are the brave of the brave. We liberated India. Let's do it again. So they do this mental conditioning in our schools. Before before reciting any Sikh prayers, we have to read the Jan Man Gan, which is the Indian national anthem. We are taught about Hindu history. So they start mentally conditioning not only our children, but also the adults as well. And what do you see in 1965 and 1971? Despite the fact that they are laying siege on our very life and our very existence, we in 1965 enter the war against Pakistan. We do the same in 1971 and enter the war against Pakistan and defend India. Disproportionate amount of Sikhs are defending India's right against Pakistan while they are waging war against us. This is the mental conditioning that's going on. At the same time, the Indian establishment create two labels, and those labels we still go by today. One is the moderate, acceptable Sikh, and the other one is the extreme, unacceptable Sikh. And we peddle these labels today. Oh, he's a moderate Sikh. Oh, he's a bit extreme. That was the birth child of this era. This is what India was doing. So they peddle this notion, and you can see people like Babar, Captain Amrinder, Prime Minister Manmohan, General Bra. They are the acceptable Sikhs. They are the ones who might cut their hair. They are the ones who will have a drink in the evening. They'll go to the mandir as well as a Gurdwara. They'll go to celebrate Diwali instead of Vaisakhi. Those are the acceptable Sikhs. But the unacceptable Sikhs are the ones who had a commitment to their Guru. The ones who were taken Amrit. They even at this point made our declaration, what we read every single day at the Gurdwara, Raj Karega Khalsa, as a symbol of terrorism and separatism. So we've got all of this going on in the 50s and the 60s. We've got the mental conditioning. Oh, you're our brave brothers and sisters. Go and fight and die for us. We've got the war against Punjab in all its pieces that I've described. You've got the war against Sikhi. You've got the two labels, the moderate and the extreme Sikh, the acceptable and the unacceptable Sikh. And Sikhs are dying until one man decides that enough is enough. And his name was Sant Janel Singh Khalsa bin Rawai. After all this war that was raging against Punjab, degradation, inequality, poverty, discrimination was rife. Punjabi farmers were committing suicides by thousands. And all of these demands that people had about Punjabi Suba, about Punjabi language, about Punjabi river waters, about the size of Punjab, about returning Chandigarh back to us, about the river water rights, about electricity, all of that was crystallized in the form of Anandpur Sahib Mata, the Anandpur Sahib resolution, which was a resolution where we wanted just those basic human needs, some clean water, some fresh air, some good food, somewhere where we can live where we're not persecuted for our belief system. Not only was this crystallized in the form of the Anandpur Sahib resolution, but one man was chosen where the poor downtrodden people of Punjab had full confidence that this guy would take our pain, put it on his shoulders, and try and get us some rights back without his own vested interest with Sant Janel Singh Khalsa bin Rawai. This man was chosen for the job. What happens? India realized that when you look back on Sikh history, whenever an oppressor comes knocking, there's always one soldier that will answer that call. Whether that is Masarangar came knocking and Bhai Sukham Bhai Mehtab answered the call, Ahmed Shah Abnani came knocking and Baba Deep Singh answered the call, and when Indira Gandhi came knocking, then Sant Janel Singh answered the call. But they needed to subjugate Punjab even more to get a reaction. And let's look at, we talk about the build-up to Harimandar Sahib. We think that the killing happened in 84, that the Sikh genocide was 1984. There was mass killings going on even before that. As a response to this Anandpur Sahib resolution, the Indian government decided that we're going to crack down on Punjab even more. India says we're a democratic country, we're a democratic nation. Rather than trying to deal with these civil demands, basic human needs across a table with Sant Janel Singh bin Rawal and the rest of the Sikh leadership, they decided to take a very heavy-handed approach. And so they decided that in Punjab, what we're going to do, we're going to start sending people in to mock Sikhi, and we're going to try and get a reaction from them. 1978, Vaisakhi Day, they allow somebody called Gurbachan from the Narankari devilish sect, who said that I am an incarnation of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, that instead of worshipping Guru Granth Sahib Ji, you should be worshipping me as a banda, as a bloke. I'm the true living Guru. And to insult Sikhs even more, he took out a procession on Vaisakhi Day. Imagine this. Imagine we just celebrated Vaisakhi ourselves, we've gone on another Kirtan. Imagine somebody sitting with his wife on two high chairs and a massive platform like a float. And he says that Guru Gobind Singh created Panj Pyare, I'm much better than Guru Gobind Singh, I'm more powerful, I'm more profound than him, I'll create Sat Sitare. So he has 7 beloved in front of him. He said Guru Gobind Singh was called a Bajawala because he had a barge. He put a barge on his wife and he says she's Bajawali now. They were openly insulting our Shaheeds, they were calling Kar Seva Bikar Seva. And while some Sikhs were celebrating Vaisakhi, this was echoed on megaphone, on mega speakers. And there's some Singhs, like my Fauja Singh, who decided that we're going to go and peacefully protest against this. How, in our own backyard on Vaisakhi Day, can our Gurus be insulted so badly? Just imagine, when the EDL, the English Defence League, were going to do a march through Dudley, how many of our people went with weapons and stood outside the Gurdwara? Not because they were ready for a fight, because they wanted to defend the Gurdwara's honour, just in case something happened. How would you feel this is going on a megaphone in the streets of Amritsar? So a handful of Sikhs go to protest and they're mowed down with bullets. 13 of them shaheed on the spot. It was at this stage that Sikhs realized that we have no place in India. Because the people who shot them were allowed to leave the state. Not a single case was registered against any of them. Not against Gurbachan, not against any of the Narankari police officers who fired the bullets. Sant Dinesh Singh Khalsa Pindrawal had done the funeral of those 13 Sikhs himself. This is the life that our people were living. People say 84. No, this is decades long. 84 was decades long. We then have in 1982, again, just to insult us even more, the Asian Games were going on in 1982. And at the behest of the Haryana Chief Minister Bhajan Lal, who openly used to mock Sikhs in the press and the media, he said, I don't want a single Sikh to reach Delhi for the Asian Games. A single Sikh. Any Sikh that was travelling to the Asian Games was taken off buses, their turbans were removed, their pagga were taken off, and they were frisked, often beaten. Even Jagjit Singh Arora, who won the battle, the war against Pakistan in 1971, he himself was frisked and had his pug taken off. More insult. In 1983, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is put in place in Punjab only. The Armed Forces Special Powers Act said that anybody who's accused of terrorism or you suspect of being a terrorist, their right to life can be suspended. Right to life being suspended means death. So anybody who's accused or you think might be a terrorist in Punjab in 1983, you can kill. How did they describe what a terrorist is? June 9, serial number 153. This is a magazine. It's an Indian Army magazine called Bhartjeet, and this is serial number 153. They described a terrorist as somebody who wears a turban, wears a gatra, and reads Nanak's Bani. This is how they describe what a terrorist is. people will say to you that Harimandar Sahib was attacked because Sant Bhindranwale didn't leave. This is what was going on. Ask yourself, who is the real terrorist? And without going into too much detail about the actual attack, because we're just going to discuss briefly, there's a lot more that was going on, I'm just trying to give you a flavour of it. People would say that Harimandar Sahib was attacked because Sant Bhindranwale was committing some acts of terrorism. I've already given you this background. Let's look at it with a bit more detail now, and let's try and really get a real flavour about why this attack had to happen. We've seen the revelations where India asked for help from the British government with regards to Operation Bluestar. And in one of the letters, William Hague said this in Parliament, that we received a letter from Indira Gandhi to say that we need to regain control of Harimandar Sahib. It's out of control. Big bad Bhindranwale is sitting there, we need to regain control of it. The question we have to ask ourselves is, what does Harimandar Sahib out of control look like? If there was a big bad terrorist holed up in the Harimandar Sahib complex, would the Sangha be flocking there in their thousands? This is the real issue. I'll tell you what the real issue is. From 1982 to 1983, every Wednesday and every Sunday of that year, 500 people were taking Amrit. Every Wednesday, every Sunday, for a whole year. On Vaisakhi 1983, 10,000 people took Amrit. That's Akaal Takhat Sahib on that one day, 10,000. April 1984, Vaisakhi Day, April 1984. 2 months after this letter was sent, that we need to regain control of Harimandar Sahib, 45,000 people took Amrit. It wasn't Sant Bhindranwale that had to be killed. It was this religious revivalism. What had to be put a stop to, what had to be killed, what had to be finished, was people coming back to Sikhi. Despite those decades where they're trying to kill it. 45,000 people. Perhaps even more sinister than this. Late May, when the Anandpur Sahib resolution was in full swing and our people were courting arrest to try and get those basic demands met, like the water, the electricity, trying to get a temple called the Golden Temple Express, which went to Harimandar Sahib in a safe and swift journey, getting Kirtan relayed across the world. We listen to Kirtan from Harimandar Sahib, don't we, live on PTC? Are we terrorists? That was a demand of something else in Khalsa Bhindranwale and the Anandpur Sahib resolution. Just to get those basic demands met. And when they weren't being met, when they were being beaten to a pulp instead, Sant Bhindranwale said, we are going to intensify our agitation, we're going to intensify the Anandpur Sahib resolution. How? By guns, by bombs, by killing Hindus, by pulling Hindus off the bus and murdering them? No. All Sant Bhindranwale said that on May 31st, 1984, we will withhold all tax that goes to the centre, and we will not give a single grain to the rest of the country until our demands are met. Many people don't know this. Only after this was declared did Indira Gandhi get the tanks ready. For a state that feeds the third of the population, for a state that feeds a third of the population, if they start withholding their grain and their tax, we'll come to our knees. Are these the demands of a terrorist? Are these the tactics of a terrorist? Who is the real terrorist? So from a religious perspective, Operation Bluestar had to happen because Sikhi, the revivalism, had to be finished. From an economic perspective, Operation Bluestar had to happen because the grain and tax was going to get withheld. Let's look at the political side of why Akaal Takht Sahib had to be attacked. Sant Janayat Singh Khan Sahib Pindrawale managed to do something that hadn't been done for almost a century, over a century, which was to give the Sri Akaal Takht Sahib, bring it back to life. Sant Pindrawale said to the people of Punjab, why are you going to these courts? Why are you going to Jalandhar High Court? Why are you going to Hoshiarpur Magistrate Court? Why are you going to these courts when the whole of the Indian system is working against you and your state? Why are you going to get justice from a place that is responsible for bringing your state to its knees and trying to eradicate your religion? Why are you looking for justice from there? So Sant Pindrawale, again, not many people know this, he set up a system, a magistrate system. He said, if you've got any issues in your villages, you speak to your panchayat who will sort the issue out. If the panchayat can't come to a resolution, we will give you panj pyare, and those panj pyare will give you a resolution. And if after that you do not get a resolution, you come to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court being Sri Akaal Takht Sahib. The Akaal Takht Sahib isn't a building that looks beautiful, that's gold and marble, and you know, we just look at it, we do a matha take. It's at Parliament, for God's sake. Guru Har Gobind Sahib created that so it could govern us. It's not about building, it's not about looking beautiful, it's about what Sri Akaal Takht Sahib represents, which is sovereignty. That you're free people. Guru Har Gobind Sahib, when he first created the Akaal Takht Sahib, it didn't look beautiful. He used to sit on a 6-foot thala and said, when the leaders of the world trample on your rights, you come here and we will give you your rights. Sant Pindrawale realized that dream. What the Indian establishment was so worried about, and the Punjab administration alerted them to this, that in the past year, from 83 and 84, we're not getting many cases coming through our system. Sikhs are sorting their own affairs out. And the Indian establishment think, if Sikhs can take care of law and order, all it takes is to start their own currency and they're running their own government. Khalsa Raj is in operation. So the attack had to happen politically. And why did tanks, Vijayanta battle tanks that weigh 1 ton each tank weighs 1 ton, it can fire its target from 3 miles away. They were parked on our beloved Parkarma and they shot Akaal Takht Sahib to pieces. Why? To say, you don't take your orders from here. You don't take your orders from Sri Akaal Takht Sahib, you take your orders from us. We are your masters, you are our slaves. It had to happen politically. It had to happen from a brutal strategy point of view. Do you honestly believe that India would mobilize nearly all of its armed forces and lay siege in a full throttle military attack on a non-military target like Harimandar Sahib on unarmed civilians, and then after a week say, alright, come on, let's go back to Delhi? Those weapons, those tanks, those jet bombers, the Punjab Armed Police, the Special Frontier Force, the Border Security Force, the 3rd Agency, Black Cat Commandos, all of those stayed in Punjab for the next 10-15 years, combing the streets and the fields of Punjab looking for more terrorists like you guys. Operation Bluestar didn't happen because Khalistan was going to get declared. Operation Bluestar gave birth to Khalistan. They knew what kind of reaction they would get if they attacked our home. If you know your home's going to get attacked, wouldn't you go back home and defend it? Even if you get involved in an altercation, you always say you never take it to the person's house because that's when it gets really personal. That's when it gets out of control. They went to Harimandar Sahib, they took the fight there because they knew they'd get a reaction from us. And with that reaction, they could kill us even more by calling us terrorists, by calling us separatists. That's why Operation Bluestar had to happen. Not because one man was questioning the world he lives in, not because Sant Pindrawale was questioning the world that Sikhs were living in. It had to happen for all those reasons. all those brutal, sinister reasons. And just to conclude, I mean, there's masses of information out there. We've got, some of you may know, we've got a YouTube channel called RajoanaTV where we've got a lot of episodes on there, and we cover Operation Bluestar. It's youtube.com/RajoanaTV. Please watch it and share the videos with others. But just to sort of conclude, we need to look at ourselves more than anything. For the past 100 years, we haven't really had foresight. We've been quick to give shahidi. Chalo shahidi aap aiye. But we've had no foresight or strategy to see what's really going on. And to this day, we are looking to two countries, the UK and India, to give us justice. Two countries we have done the most for, and they've done nothing back for us. Look at our Sikh foresight. We are supposed to be strategists. We are supposed to be military soldiers. We're supposed to be thinkers. Look, this is how we've been reacting in the past century. India. Let's go back to the UK. We've seen the revelations that they somehow colluded with India in attacking Harimandar Sahib. In 1849, just after the British had landed on the shores and destroyed the Sikh kingdom, in 1849, this government attacked Harimandar Sahib and Sri Akaal Takht Sahib in 1849 and killed every single Nahang Singh there. It's called the Battle of Amritsar. It's spelled with a U-M-R-I-T-Z-E-R. There's an actual article on it, how this government attacked our heart, Harimandar Sahib. 1849. And the reason they attacked Harimandar Sahib, and there's a common thread in all of this, they know where we get our power from, which is our Guru gods. So when the UK wanted to dampen us, or when they wanted to kill us off, they went straight for Sri Akaal Takht Sahib. India, when they wanted to kill us off, they installed Mahants in our Gurdwara, and they killed our ideology off then. Again, going back to the UK, 1849, they destroyed the Akaal Takht Sahib and killed all the Nahang Singhs. Come to 1914, we go over 2 continents and fight for the British. In the First and Second World War, over 83,000 Sikhs gave their lives for this crown, for this British Empire. And this was after they destroyed Akaal Takht Sahib in 1849. After the First World War, we thought, wow, we fought tooth and nail for the British, they're going to give us some liberty back. And what did they do? They introduced the Rowlatt Act, the Black Acts, which take away our freedom even more. Did we learn any lessons? No. We went straight onto the borders in the Second World War and we fight and die for them again, winning more Victoria Crosses than anybody else per capita. India. We play a dazzling role to free India. At the same time, in the 20s and the 30s, where we're trying to battle against the British, they are installing Mahants in our Gurdwara, where they're putting idols to worship instead of Guru Maharaj. Because even they know where we derive our power, which is from our Guru gods. So while we're trying to fight the British, while the Babbar Akalis, while the Inqilabi movement is trying to battle the British, we're also battling the Hindu Mahants, and we're having a Gurdwara reform movement to try and get them out. And it reached its peak when we went to Nankana Sahib in the 1920s. Mahant Narayan Das had installed an idol where people were worshipping instead of Guru Maharaj. Nankana Sahib, the birthplace of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Any Sikh girls that went to Nankana Sahib in the 20s were getting raped by his goons. So Bhai Lakshman Singh and a whole bunch of Sikhs go to Nankana Sahib to protest against his sacrilegious acts. What does Mahant Narayan Das do? Every single member, he strings up on a tree and sets on fire. Men, women, children. At what point did we think we could coexist and be safeguarded with these people after 1947? Again, we have to have that foresight. We've made too many mistakes. We've shown loyalty and we've got nothing back. And to this day, we are appealing to our killers. India, UK, give us justice. You're going to get justice from them? Petitions, placards. Is that how we're going to get justice? Because people often say, what are the solutions? I mean, you're always talking about this, but what are the solutions? I'll get to that in a second. But just on a note, because I think we're going to have to finish now. The legacy of Operation Bluestar is in front of you. Punjab is drowning in drugs. Punjab is drowning in alcohol. Punjab is drowning in female feticide. Punjab is drowning in cancerous water. Punjab is drowning in uranium. Punjab is drowning in fake data. This is the legacy of Operation Bluestar. This is what the centre has done to our Punjab after Operation Bluestar. And who was the one man, the one that we ourselves call a terrorist, who was the one man that could have made a change? Sant Jalal Singh. He's the one who brought these issues to the forefront, but he was called a terrorist. And just to finish, people talk about solutions, and there are some solutions. Go back to your pen and work with some of the youth about drug rehabilitation, talk about how there's so many illegal pharmacies, how do you safeguard yourself against pesticides and fertilizers. We can do some of those things. But ultimately, there's nothing that has changed in India in the past 30 years to make sure that Sikh genocide never happens again. So what is the solution? What is the solution? And I refer back to Sant Rawali when he used to say, you guys come to me and ask me for a solution. He says, what magic formula have I got? What magic formula have I got that I can give you that can alleviate all these problems that we've got? Because what you need to do, you need to look back and see history. And this is what we need to do. Our Gurus have given us a Supreme Court. It's called Sri Akaal Takhat. That's our Supreme Court. They've given us a magistrate system in the form of the Panch Pyare. That's our magistrate system. They've given us an army in the form of the Khalsa. They've given us food in the form of langar. And they've given us an economy in the form of the Swan. We've got the technology there. It's about waking up. It's about giving that technology a face, a flag, and a nation. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Bolai so nihal, Sat Sri Akaal. Tek tek, Fateh, Panth ki jeet, Raj karega, Khalsa, Khalistan, Jindabad. Pindra wale di soch te, pera deange thok ke. Pindra wale di soch te, pera deange thok ke. Khalistan, Jindabad. Khalistan, Jindabad.
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। भाई सरबजीत सिंह राजोआना टीवी जिन्हों ने बहुत ही विस्तार पूर्वक 1984 का जो घलूघारा होया, जिमें जिमें इतिहास शहीदों के लहू नाल रंगिया गया, उमें सारा विस्तार पूर्वक आपनू सरवण कराया है जी। इन्हां दा बहुत बहुत धन्नवाद है। हुण साध संगत जी